Welcome to today's podcast. Have you ever wondered how your country stacks up in the world of iRacing? In today's episode, we're diving into some fascinating stats, exploring which countries have the highest and lowest iRatings, which clubs dominate in terms of average incidents per race, i.e. the worst drivers, and even breaking down the average iRating per license class. So whether you're looking to see how your home country performs or just a bit curious about the global iRacing scene, stay tuned as we break it all down. All the stats we're going to go through and graphs that you can see on the YouTube version of the podcast are from a website called iracingdata.com. One thing to note though is the stats from the USA that are on this website are split into potentially, they're not states but areas of America such as Mid-South. Then you've got some specific states, Ohio, Pennsylvania and things like that. So the data is not really user friendly. So I have not used too much of the USA figures on here other than ovals to see who the best is from an incident point of view and give our USA listeners some bragging rights. So stay tuned, USA listeners. You are mentioned on who is the best from a safety point of view on ovals. So we are going to start with the top 10 clubs with the best average iRating. Now, the website states it is using real-time data, so the figures are as up-to-date as possible, or at least at the time this podcast was made. So we're going to start with a top 10, but we're going to do them in reverse order. Now, don't forget, this is the average iRating per driver per club. Okay, so at number 10, folks, Iberia with an average iRating per driver of 1,401. Now, there's no difference really between 10th and 9th. So at number 9, we've got UK and Ireland with an average rating per driver from that club or all those locations as the same as Iberia with 1,401. At number 8, it's Scandinavia with 1,414. In 7th place, it's Central Eastern Europe with an average iRating per driver of 1,439. Benelux comes in at number 6 at 1,484. Italy next with 1,486. Then Japan with 1,490. So we're coming up to the top 3 now of the clubs with the best average iRating according to iracingdata.com. So at number 3 it is France with a average iRating per driver from France of 1,498. In P2 we have DE80 and CH with 1,559. And quite surprising actually, the number 1 with an average iRating per driver of 1,669 goes to Finland. So Finland I've got outside the USA data anyway for iRating has got the best average iRating with just shy of 1,700. So well done to everybody on that top 10 list. Now we're going to move into the worst 8 average iRatings per club. And again, we're going to do it in reverse order. So we're going to start with the 8th worst going to the worst at the end. So at number 8 is Hispano-America with an average iRating per driver of 1,377. Brazil comes in at number 7 with a rating of 1,371. At number 6 is International Club with an average iRating of 1,360. Asia next with an average iRating of 1,329. At P4, it is our friends down in Australia and New Zealand with an average iRating of 1,317. Now we're going into the top 3 now, and these are the clubs according to iracingdata.com who have got the worst average iRatings. So at number 3, it is Africa or South Africa with an average iRating of 1,310. And the number 2 is Canada with an iRating of 1,279. And bottom of the pack, I'm afraid to say, with an average iRating per driver of 1,259, goes to Mexico. So that is just based on iRatings alone. As we know as iRacers, there's 2 stats that we all look at, which is iRating, which we just covered, and safety rating as well. So now we're going to change it up and look at who the safest drivers are and who to avoid on track, starting with the road license. This time we are going to start with the clubs with the worst average incidents per race. Okay, so these are the clubs with the most unsafe drivers. Okay, at number 7, so not the worst, but at number 7 is Hispano-America with an average of 6.834 incidents per race. At number 6 comes in drivers from Australia and New Zealand with 6.892. Then our friends from Mexico at 6.902. And at P4 we have Central Eastern Europe with 6.904. And we're moving into the top 3 worst clubs for an average incident per race now, folks. So at P3 is Brazil with an average incident per race of 6.938. At P2 we have Asia with 7.194. And according to the stats on iracing.stats.com, it is International Club being the worst drivers on the service with an average average incidents per race of 7.195. So those top 3 there are Brazil, Asia and International Club. So they're the guys, if you're going to overtake them, that are probably going to cause you some X's. So give them a wide berth and get your strategic overtake really cast in stone before you make that move. Now we're going to move into the safest drivers on the road, folks. Safest drivers, and this is road. Don't forget, this is just road license, okay? And we're going to do it in reverse again. So in 10th place is South Africa, with an average incidents per race of 6.703. Coming in at number 9 is Canada with 6.678, closely followed by UK and Ireland with 6.670 average incidents per race. At lucky 7 is Scandinavia with 6.563, closely followed by Iberia at 6.637. Moving into the top 5. At number 5, it's Benelux with 6.429. France at number 4 with 6.403. Your third most safest drivers per club goes to Finland with 6.327. At P2, it is DEATCH at 6.242. And your safest drivers on the service, on the road license, folks, goes to Japan, who have an average incidents per race of 6.062. So if you see a Japanese driver, a German driver maybe, and a Finnish driver, you should be okay to overtake those. They shouldn't be giving you any issues at all, folks. So well done to the top 3 clubs with the lowest incident points on average per race. Now, as I said before, we don't usually look at ovals on this podcast, but I wanted to take a look at that discipline and give our USA listeners some insights too. So we're going to look at the worst drivers on ovals to start with. And this isn't the ones that's got the American data in. I've saved that for the best drivers so you can use those bragging rights. So the worst drivers coming in, it's a top 8. At number 8 in the countdown goes to Central Eastern Europe. So that with an average of 7.253. In 7th place, it's Hispano-America with 7.308 incidents per race. At number 6, it's Mexico with 7.382. At number 5, it is Brazil with 7.394. P4 goes to Africa, South Africa with 7.556. In 3rd place, who are the worst drivers on ovals according to incident points, goes to Italy with 7.589. And the top 2 international club are at P2 with 8.70 incidents per race on ovals. And the ones to avoid at all costs, folks, according to iracingdata.com, for ovals, the worst people to overtake or come across are people from Asia, folks, with an average of 8.302 X's per race. So stay clear of those drivers at all costs. They're going to cost you big times, if not incidents, time in the pits. Okay, now we're moving on to the best or the safest drivers from clubs and USA from a safety point of view, according to iracingdata.com. So we're going to start with outside the USA first. So they're just top 5s. So the 5th best club for having the least amount of X's per race on ovals goes to France, with an average incidents per race of 6.813. Canada in P4 with 6.498. At P3, DAATCH at 6.486. Then Japan at 6.242. And our safest drivers outside of the USA on ovals goes to Finland with 6.231 average, folks. So, yeah, see a Finnish guy or a Japanese guy, like before, pretty safe on the track. Now, listen up, USA oval drivers. Let's see who's got the bragging rights to be the safest drivers on ovals. So again, we're going to start with at the 5th place. So the 5th position goes to Midwest with an average incidence per race of 6.243. P4 goes to New England at 6.210. Sitting in 3rd place goes to Pennsylvania with an average incident per race of 6.191. And in P2, that goes to Mid-South with a 6.180 average incidents per race. And finally, the safest club in the USA, according to iracingdata.com, goes to Ohio with an average incidence of 6.110 per race, folks. So we're just going to have a short break. There's a few more stats I want to take you through because it's really interesting. So don't go away. Come back for more. So there are 3 sets of stats left to go through. I've used the last 12 months as the same timeline to create a bell curve or histogram to show the iRacing spread per license I've covered the road, the formula and the oval licenses for this section. Now, we all have our own personal iRatings, but where do we fit within the average for that specific license? For the sports car license, the average iRating is between 1200 and 1300 according to iracing.stats.com. That accounts for 12.4% of sports car license iRacers who are sat on that stat. The next most popular column is an iRating between 1300 and 1400, so not much difference, and that accounts for 9.79% of all iRacers in that license. On average, the most common spread of iRating is between 700 and 1900 for the sports car license. That accounts for 70.5% of all iRacers on the sports car license. Now, we have our aliens, of course, let's say 5k plus iRacers. They account for only 0.12% on the sports car license, folks, so they are few and far between. That's what makes iRacing really good on how they use the iRating to put us all into the right splits. It clearly works. The aliens go and race other aliens, hopefully mainly anyway, and the average of us keep racing the averages, and we get a little bit better each year. We probably get a little bit worse as well. Now, moving into the formula license. Again, the most common range of iRating is between 1200 and 1300, which accounts for 12.83% of iRacers driving on the formula license. Again, the average iRating is between 700 and 1900, which accounts for 71.3% in the formula license. Aliens again only account for 0.10% of iRatings, again, and I've used anything over 5k. Now we're going to move on to ovals, as I said. Now for oval, it's only slightly different, which is, again, is it surprising? I don't know. The average iRating on ovals is again between 1200 and 1300, but only just. The next column, which is very close, is 1300 to 1400. And it's a very close second, with percentages of both between 16.46 and 14.8%. The average range is a little tighter from 800 to 1800, accounting for 74% of all iRacers on ovals license. Again, aliens only account for even less this time, 0.05% on ovals. And again, that's iRatings more than 5k. So to summarise this section, with a full year's data since the licenses were split, as humans we are pretty much alike, no matter what licence we are racing in. And there will always be the slightly worse drivers and some unfortunate drivers, the average Joes and the few aliens. But wouldn't life be pretty dull if we were all the same? So, I hope you've enjoyed that section today regarding statistics, whether or not you're an alien, you're not an alien. We all sit somewhere and we're all different to each other. And that's what makes it a competitive, excellent hobby. And that's what makes iRacing, for us, so popular. In the news this week is the FIA SimMagic F4 Esports Global Championship Series race preview for races 5 and 6. The next two races in the 2024 FIA SimMagic F4 Esports Global Championship Series takes place on October the 12th. The tracks have been announced. They are Willow Springs and Spa. 2 weeks ago, in third and fourth races of the 2024 season, saw Great Britain's Luke McEwen and Czech Republic's Martin Kadlicik split victories at Zolder and Portimao, or Algarve as we know it. In a stark contrast from the opening two races, which saw Alex Dunn steal them both. With two races on the docket, drivers will need to be ready to jump from track to track on race day. The first race event will feature 15 minutes of practice, 10 minutes of qualifying and a 20-minute race. Then, after a quick 5-minute break following the conclusion of the first race, the second race will feature a 10-minute practice, another 10-minute qualifying and another 20-minute race. Each winner will collect 25 points towards the championship, with points being awarded to the top 15 drivers. So let's have a quick look at their tracks. Willow Springs is one of the United States' finest hidden gems for road racers. Rosamond, California's Willow Springs International Motorsports Park is a complex of multiple diverse and challenging courses. Headlined by the 2.5-mile Willow Springs Raceway, also known as Big Willow, the facility opened in November 1953, making it the oldest permanent road course in America in 1996. It was also declared a California Point of Historical Interest. Big Willow features challenging elevation changes, technical corners on one of the most picturesque backgrounds of any circuit in the West. The track has hosted everything from the NASCAR Cup Series in the 1950s to budget-level endurance racing in the modern times. Big Willow is beloved among the amateur racing community for producing exciting racing with an approachable but fun layout. Moving on to Spa. Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps is one of the most world-famous tracks there is. The home of the Belgian Grand Prix, the 24 Hours of Spa and the Spa 1000K. Spa has long been recognised as a supreme test of courage and skill, and its roll call of winners reads like a history of Grand Prix and sporting car racing. Spa has seen many variations over the years. Designed in 1920, the circuit originally ran for some 15 kilometres over public roads in Belgium's Ardennes region. The elimination of a hairpin turn in the valley of Eau Rouge Creek later shortened the circuit by about a kilometre and added its already fearsome speeds. Those speeds peaked in the early 1970s when Pedro Rodriguez won the 1970 Belgian Grand Prix at an average speed of 149.941 miles per hour, and Henry Pescarolo set a lap record of 163.086 miles an hour during the 1973 Spa 1000K. Owing to its safety concerns, the circuit was reconfigured to its current layout in the 1980s and continues to evolve to this day. The revised circuit retains much of the flavour of the original course, and many of its signature turns, including La Source, Blanchimont and the daunting Eau Rouge. Yet again, both races will be on YouTube, so look out for them there. Also in iRacing news, Luke McEwen takes first career IndyCar bookkicker iRacing Pro Series win at Barber Motorsports Park. In the fourth race of this inaugural IndyCar bookkicker iRacing Pro Series season at Barber Motorsports Park on Thursday night, a fourth different winner emerged in Apex Racing's team's Luke McEwen. Nearly winning a week ago at Iowa but running out of fuel prematurely, McEwen redeemed himself by playing the tyre strategy right, utilising the alternate and the primary tyre compounds in the ideal order to score his first win of the season. Iowa was far from ideal, McEwen said post-race. It was a lack of experience on the ovals, but we knew we had a decent pace coming into here. It felt good in the qualifying series. It feels nice to get a win under my belt, and I'm sure there will be more to come. The victory moves McEwen up to second in the standings, tied with Team Redline's Diogo Pinto, now only 4 points behind Webster for the top spot. On the start, McEwen took the green in fourth and was quickly able to get past the Coanda Esports trio ahead of him. Michele Costantini, Elliot Veyron and pole sitter Jordan Caruso. The top 7 starters opted on starting on the alternate red walled tyres, while the majority of the field took on the primary black walled tyres. Alternates would be faster earlier in the run, but the primaries would hold speed longer, allowing for a longer opening stint. Caruso led the opening 10 laps, but McEwen was on a mission from the jump. McEwen made quick work of Costantini before pressurising Veyron for second, forcing a mistake that will lead to wing damage on the 19 Honda. On the 11th lap, McEwen blew by Caruso and began to open up a gap. The gap was more than a second on the 14th lap, with Team Redline's Cooper Webster the points leader, now up to third and closing quickly. Caruso opted to pit in earlier than most on lap 15, which meant he would need to go 25 laps on the primary tyres to the end. McEwen stretched it to lap 19, pitting from the lead, allowing Webster to also grab a lap lead as he pitted a lap later. That handed off the lead to Team Redline's Gustavo Ariel, who led the pack of drivers who started on the primary tyres. Ariel led a train of Team Redline cars on the same strategy for 4 laps before taking the quartet down pit road, handing the lead to Williams Esports' Jaden Munoz for a lap before he pitted and gave it back to McEwen on lap 25. Among the field, attrition began to creep in as few drivers slipped up on their outlaps from the pits. Team 15G's Jacob Oster took a hellacious hit from the barrier on lap 23, but being a road racing event, the caution did not fly and the race continued as normal. Constantini also found trouble collecting contact from Apex Racing's Peter Berryman on his outlap, forcing a second pit stop to replace the broken wing. Indianapolis road winner Team Redline's Eduardo Leo might be regretting his decision to burn out after the bricks that day, as he's now failed to finish 2 of the last 3 events, retiring early after damage sustained with contact from Drogo's Racing's David Toth. The bad luck has dropped the early season favourite from the early points lead down to 10th in the standings now after 4 races. Up front, Webster closed the gap to nearly a second before the checkered flag flew. Caruso held on to finish in third, his first podium of the season. McEwen took the checkered flag after leading 23 laps in the process, scoring 53 out of possible 54 points on the day. So that now makes the top 3. We're still Diogo Pinto in third with 121 points. Tied with Luke McEwen on 121 points, and leading the way still with 145 points is Cooper Webster. So as we said, we'll keep you up to speed with how that series is progressing. Well, we've come to the end of probably our shortest podcast so far, since we've been doing both the Audible and the YouTube version. I'm looking for a co-host, at least one, maybe 2 or 3, to join me on the podcast. So if any listeners or viewers are interested out there, please send me an email or find me on iRacing. It's Guy Robertson. You'll quickly find me. We're also looking for guests. We're looking for sponsors for the show as well. So if you're interested, if you've got a wonderful topic you want to come and discuss with me, maybe it's about why can't you be demoted back to rookies? Is it about missing tracks that are on iRacing? Is it about problems with certain cars or tracks? Doesn't matter what the topic is, we can talk about it here on the podcast. Please share the podcast with your fellow iRacers, friends and family. It does help. And don't forget to leave some likes or some feedback as well. It's very important. So until next week, folks, happy iRacing, and I'll see you on the track soon.